Alright, here's an update of the WP shock on the ATK 406. I've basically disassembled everything off of the shaft and I've ordered parts to rebuild it. I just wanted to kind of show everybody how this comes apart. If I can get my camera to focus. So that threaded rod in the middle of the shaft is what turns from this Rebound Adjuster right here, which you'll see I've got it set to 1. I've got it turned all the way down. When you turn this around all the way up to 11, what it does is I think it lowers this rod and basically opens a shim stack on here, and that's how you get your rebound. So these components are still here on the shaft. This is, I'm not quite sure the names for some of this stuff, but this is basically the cap that seals it all up. And then this right here, I think would be like a traditional seal head where your actual oil seal is located. The dust seal is down in this one. And then let's go to some of the parts. This guy gets pressed onto this shaft. You can see the little impression that it left from this rubber bumper. So this part of the shaft, it gets pressed all the way down onto, and it's tight enough to where you're not just going to move that by hand. I took a hammer and just kind of tapped it on each side. It took me probably 10 minutes to work it all the way up here to the top. But when it's located in place, it seats all the way down here, almost all the way. Mine was not totally bottomed. Then the next part is all of this stuff, which I've left on the screwdriver because I don't want to get these shims out of order. You can see there's shims on the bottom, shims on the top, and then this nut just tightens down on it. And I didn't see any Loctite or anything. But the cool part, at least I think the cool part, is right over here. You've got this little washer that sits on top of, I think it would sit like right there. And then the spring goes on top of it with this little nut, which I'll move out of the way. And this cap comes off. So this stuff just kind of sits on top of here. But you have to thread this cap onto that shaft. Okay, and mine went down onto the shaft with about 10 threads exposed. Right there on the top, that little shaft right there. I had about 10 threads sticking out on top. And then I counted the turn of this nut, which is why I have that little scored mark right there. I also have one somewhere right there on this nut. And I counted the turns, but I don't think the turns of the nut really mattered. I think what matters is the turns of this plate. Either way, I just didn't want to lose position because this spring goes under tension. And then, like I said, when you adjust that rebound clicker, it pulls this spring down and it forces some of these shims open on the stack. And I think the only trouble you're really going to get in if you just screwed up that is your range of 1 to 11 on your rebound would either be a range of 1 to nothing, or it would just click a whole lot and not really go anywhere. Worst case scenario on both sides. So you just, in order to keep your range, you want to make sure you pay attention when you take that off. So that's the first part. You take that spring off, then there's that nut. There's that nut that would go on this shaft on the big threaded area. Then the plate that you have to work from here all the way up, and then you're able to take this off, which has a little O-ring in there, and then this little oil seal. So if I set this right there, and that's basically your oil seal. And it just fits right there in that little O-ring. And then there's this big fat O-ring, which seemed like it was in pretty good shape. Try to keep all this stuff in the right orientation. And then finally, this cap, which you can see I kind of wallered out these holes to make them a little bigger because this thing wouldn't come off. And so the cap, apparently there's a little bit of a struggle to get in here. There's this little spacer right there, and then there's that DA bushing, which goes pretty far down there. So this whole, like, I don't know if that's bronze or steel, that bushing has to come out this way. And there's not really much to push on. And the last thing you get to down there is your dust seal. So on this, I plan on replacing both the dust seal and that bushing, because you can see that's got a little bit of slop. It should have some, but it shouldn't have that much. I don't think it should have that much. That's basically just going to make your seal fail quicker. But this is going to be a real peach to get out. I think you can press it this way. I'm thinking of using a blind bearing puller, and if I have to sacrifice it, so be it. But either heat and slide hammer it out, or I don't know. I'll just maybe have to grind a bolt down or something and get in there and try to press on it, but that's going to be a tricky part. But surely I'll figure it out, and I'll share with you what I figured out. So yeah, now that shaft is totally off. I don't plan on taking anything more out of here because the clicker all worked just fine, so I don't really want to get into another can of worms. There's like a little snap ring right here if I felt like disassembling this part and cleaning, but I think I'm good. I'm not really trying to find more things to get in over my head with. But that's the update of the shock so far, and like I said, parts are ordered, so hopefully I'll have some reassembly for you. Peace.